Hello, I'm Neil from Each Sleep Box Repeat. Today we're joined by Dean Deadly Sutherland, Aberdonian welterweight prospect who's 10-0. He will be fighting Jose Velasquez live on Fight Zone on 31st of July. Dean, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Neil.
You've got a fight coming up on July 31st. We'll come to that in just a minute. But first, how's things with you, and how's your training camp going?
No, everything's going really, really well, mate. It's been a really, really long camp. Having obviously training right through lockdown, looking for opportunities, getting opportunities on really, really short notice. That just really didn't do anything to benefit me in my career. But to eventually then get the deal signed with Dennis Hobson and then get a fight date, and then it's been a couple of dates that's been pushed back already, and now eventually we're going to go at the 31st.
So you signed with Dennis Hobson last November. How did that come about, and what's it like being with those guys?
It was something that my manager, Sam Koenig, had been looking to try get me a promotional deal signed up for a while. There's obviously a few of us in Scotland that's young, exciting, up-and-coming talents that just wasn't getting the same exposure fighting on the so-called like small hall shows. Wasn't getting the recognition for the displays that we were doing, and wasn't getting the eyes for it. So it was something that he was definitely looking to get me into. And as soon as the Dennis Hobson thing came about, we started speaking straight away. The credentials and the team that Dennis has got, it was a no-brainer really, and the opportunities that it's opened up for me already is massive.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on getting that deal. Your last fight was back in February 2020, obviously just weeks before the world got a bit crazy. So I was wondering what the pandemic was like for you, how it affected your training and routine and whatnot.
Well, I think we went into lockdown on the Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was actually supposed to be fighting that Saturday as well. So I was supposed to be having 2 fights in quick succession. And so being in like fully fight prepped, ready, just taking off the last little bits of weight to then the world going into a bit of pandemonium. And with my job being an electrician, I wasn't able to work either. So it went from being busy like 14, 15 hours of the day to nothing into a flat. So I took the opportunity to basically train as a full-time professional. I was doing 2-3 training sessions a day. Did that for a good month or so. And then as time was going on, the motivation did start to drop, and it went to 2 sessions a day. Then it was 1 session a day, then maybe a couple of sessions a week, just not having the same consistency in the routine, and definitely not having like goals or fight dates to push towards. And I did try to keep myself as motivated as possible, but it was obviously very, very tough. And anybody that tells you that it wasn't that tough and they were motivated the whole time, I speak out the rear end, if you ask me, mate. 100%, I definitely did have a dip, did have a bit of frustration, but also then just looking at it the positive way, managed to make a few changes in my camp aspect of it, changing gyms up to Aberdeen instead of being in Dundee. So instead of being an hour and 15 minutes away, I'm 15 minutes from the gym. New strength conditioning, new nutritionist, just really try to hone in and give myself the best possible opportunity that once this lockdown was over and fights were coming back, that I was ready to hit the ground running. And that's exactly the type of fight that I've got on the 31st of July is something that I've been looking forward to. I don't need a run out fight or a tune up fight or anything like that. I just want to get straight back in the deep end and get some nice new titles to go around my waist.
Definitely. Well, you're with David McAllister now. What's it like training with him?
Fantastic. What a great atmosphere. A lot of knowledge in the gym. Just real boxing fanatics, basically. And I think as well the competitiveness in the gym, with everybody wanting to 100% reach the maximum that they can, it makes me have to train that a little bit harder. Especially definitely the competitiveness. If we're doing a challenge or doing stuff on the bags and like the heart rate monitors on, if somebody's working harder than you, it's shown right there in front, and you get found out very, very quick for that. So it makes you have to do 110% every single session. And to get to where I want to be and where I believe I can be, that's the sort of training that I'm needing.
Aye. Well, definitely sounds intense. So let's talk about your fight. You're fighting Mexican opponent Jose Antonio Delago Velasquez. Say that 10 times fast.
It's a fair mouthful, isn't it?
Aye. So he's got a very similar record to you. He's 10-1. Do you know much about him? Have you seen any tape of him?
I think I managed to. My dad managed to find one clip, I think, of him so far. One fight over in Mexico. I think it's actually his most recent one. He's obviously been fortunate enough to. I think he's had 4 fights in the last year, something like that. So he's obviously been active, which is good. That's the sort of live opponent I'm needing, especially somebody that's got similar record to me, that doesn't want to lose, doesn't want to come over here just for a knockover job, and especially everybody's been going on about how tough and durable the Mexicans are, and they've obviously caused some upsets over here. So that just gives me that extra bit of motivation to really get some respect once I win this and put my name firmly into the mix of the top welterweights in Britain.
Have you ever fought or sparred anyone from that part of the world before with a kind of come forward aggressive style?
Not in boxing, but my first world title fight in kickboxing was a guy from Brazil, and obviously competing against him, just really, really tough, strong, durable opponent coming forward, and obviously very, very aggressive. There's obviously been so many great Mexican boxers that everybody idolizes or everybody's watched in fantastic fights. So to beat a Mexican and have that on your resume, especially one with a very similar record to me, then I think that's just going to be the icing on the cake. And to lift the WBO Youth World Title is just an added extra.
So you mentioned your amateur background there was in kickboxing. Am I right in thinking that you didn't have any amateur boxing bouts? It was purely kickboxing.
I had, I think it was 5 amateur boxing bouts when I was 11, literally in the space of 3 months. And the style of kickboxing that I was doing just now, my whole stance was horrendous for amateur boxing. I had no balance, nothing at all. And it was just something that I went into the boxing to get my hands better for the kickboxing. So I literally had the 5 fights when I was 11 years old, stopped after 4 months. I think I was training in amateur boxing for about 1.5 years, but only had the 5 fights, then just continued into my kickboxing. And that's where I had obviously my major success. I think I ended up picking up I have 4 world titles at 4 different weights before I was 18. And then on my second fight in the adult section, won a world title as well in that. So I had a really, really successful kickboxing career, but I'd already made the switch in my head, basically by the time I got 16, 17, that I wanted to go into the professional boxing side of things, that the kickboxing really didn't have too much more for me to accomplish. I'd really set out everything and done everything that I wanted to do in the kickboxing. So it became the question whether it was either going to be the MMA or the boxing. And I'm so much more passionate about the boxing, watch it all the time. And if it came to the opportunity between choosing again, it would be boxing 100%.
So you said, obviously it's a different stance for kickboxing and boxing. Is that something that you've completely reset, or is there anything from kickboxing that you can incorporate?
A little bit. Probably the most that I've took from the kickboxing would be probably the rhythm, just changing up the rhythm. Instead of quite a lot of the boxers will have the same sort of bounce or have nothing at all, but in kickboxing a lot of it is to do with speed and movement of your footwork and the rhythm that it's at. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've took from it. But it's something even during my kickboxing days, like I would always watch different boxers and that growing up, and always tried and add little combinations that they had and little tricks, little additions that they had to add to my arsenal. And I think soon as I'd made the decision I was going into the boxing, that it made it really, really easy. I'm very much a visual learner, so if I'm watching tapes, I pick it up really, really quick. And it's something that I think's made my transition into the professional boxing so much easier.
So you're fighting in front of 2,500 people. It's an outdoor event at Hamilton Football Stadium, New Douglas Park. It will be live on Fight Zone. We don't see too many outside events in Scotland. Is that something you've done before?
No, it's not something I've done before, which is just another added piece to the experience. Is that it's just when I can look back and think, wow, I won the WBO Youth World Title in an outdoor event in a football stadium, and I think it's going to be the little glimpse to what I want to do in the future. Obviously, being a lad from Aberdeen, fighting in Tawdry, the Aberdeen football stadium's the main goal, and it's always something I've wanted to do. So to have a little taste of an outdoor event in a football stadium will put me in good stead in going in the future.
So you've got the WBO Junior Title on the line on the 31st, just over a week away. Are you going to be looking to work your way up the WBO rankings?
There's a couple of options that we've got, but that is definitely one of them. The other option, it's a big one that Dennis wants, and it's also a big one that I want, is to the Lonsdale belt. It's something I think, even getting into boxing, I think most boxers will probably tell you it's the most beautiful and most honourable belt that you can win being a British fighter. And it's definitely something I want to do. I think just now the British title's quite held up with, they've got the Jenkins Ikarusian fight that's just coming up, and then I think there's already a final eliminator organised as well. So it'd be a good while before I'd be pushing into that sort of setting. But if I can get my rankings up with the WBO and the rankings up in the British rankings as well, then that probably gives me more options and avenues to go down as well.
So obviously not looking too far past this fight, but are you, what would you like to see happen in 2021?
For the rest of the year, the idea that we've got, I think, is probably got to be another fight towards the end of the year, hopefully up in Aberdeen, get a home crowd back and be in a big fight again, either defending the WBO youth title or looking to see if there's any other options that we can go down as well. I think that's for 2021, and try to get myself into the top 10 ranking in Britain. I think I'm sitting about 15th, 16th just now, and it's not bad for not fighting and coming up for a year and a half where everybody else has fought. Some of them fought twice, being the youngest in the section and stuff like that as well. So if I can still sit there or aim push towards the top 10, if I can break into that by the end of 2021, that would be the main goal. And then 2022 is just literally taking over, do any big fight, any big opportunity. The options that I've got working with Dennis and the team, I fully trust they'll guide my career in the correct way, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me in some major fights as well.
So will all your fights be on Fight Zone for the near future?
For the near future, all my fights with Dennis Hobson will be on the Fight Zone platform, which is a fantastic outlet. And the production, we went down to see one of the Sheffield shows, and the whole production team is outstanding. It is literally second to none. And that was amazing to see that some people can sit at the comfort of their home. If they can't get tickets to come to my fight, they can sit at the comfort of their home. I think it's £5 a month for the subscription, which is nothing, and get an absolute world-class production and see me pick up some belts and get in some great fights as well. So the platform itself is fantastic.
Speaking of belts, you've also got the Dui Welterweight Belt. Is that something, have you got mandatories that you've got to do as well?
I don't really have mandatories for it. We did reach out to the BUI and inform them that if they had anybody that was eligible from their side, because it's the BUI, it's got to have a Irish opponent involved. It's got to have a Irish fighter involved in the process of the fight. So we did let them know that we'd be willing to defend that, and they sent out an email to everybody that they had basically ready for the belt, and nothing came back from it. So I'm not really interested in waiting about for trying to defend that. I'm obviously moving on to a world recognized title, which is the main goal. And if that means somebody else fights for the BUI, then they can have it, because I'm moving on to bigger and better things.
Well, lastly, so anything for the viewers at home, a message you want to send to your fans of what they can expect on 31st of July?
Just, if you've ever seen any of my fights before, this is going to be 10 times more clinical, 10 times more classy, and you're going to see a great presentation of classic boxing. And I really do think that I'm going to make a massive statement in this fight against a very gay Mexican opponent. So don't blink and tune into the Fight Zone if you haven't bought a ticket.
Yeah, well, can't wait to see it. Like you say, Fight Zone, $4.99 a month, 31st of July. I think it kicks off around 7 p.m. And keep following the career of Dean Deadly Sutherland. And thanks once again for joining us today. And I hope the rest of your camp keeps going well.
Thank you very much, Neil. Have a good one, my man.
You too. Talk to you soon.